Welcome back to Nick Lenz's movie review, episode number 124. This is a review of my personal childhood favorites. Yes, I have reviewed Space Jam and Ben on Broomsticks. But how about a movie that features one of my childhood favorite actors, the late Robin Williams? Yes, it's been 5 years since he passed away. So I want to review one of my personal favorite films starring him. I did not see his film when it came out in theaters because I was only 3 when this came out in theaters. I saw this film multiple times on VHS. It's a good length of movie. What film is this? Hook. Yes, I do know the Nostalgia Critic has reviewed this film already, but yeah, I do know about his review. I've seen it. I was not really a big fan of a lot of his reviews when it comes to film from my childhood that I love. Rob Williams in here as playing the grown-up Peter Pan, aka Peter Banning. We have James Hook here. Who plays him? Dustin Hoffman. Smee, that's him right there, is played by Bob Hoskins. Yes, the same actor from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And as you can see, Tinkerbell there is played by the Julia Roberts, a woman known for romantic comedies. Like, if you look at her movie catalog, it's almost entirely made up of romantic comedies. I would say two actually I did like, aside from this one that features her, is Pretty Woman. Yes, I've seen it. It's one of my mother's favorite movies. The other, of course, is Runaway Bride. I have seen Pretty Woman a little bit more than Runaway Bride because I'm not really a big fan of that one. I mean, the only reason why I saw these two films because I saw Richard Gere, who was a fantastic actor. But that's the case of this film. Okay. The film has a grown-up Peter Pan who's married to the granddaughter of Wendy from the original Peter Pan story. Yes, married to her granddaughter, which is something. They have 2 kids, and he is a lawyer. Yes, Peter Pan is a corporate lawyer. Yep, worrying about a merger and apparently also alienating his own family. I mean, the movie opens, but believe it or not, like, and I kid you not, we see his beautiful little girl playing Wendy in Peter Pan. Oh yeah, they have this thing also where the whole thing with a kiss is basically a thimble. Yes, those who have wondering what the heck this is, it's a small little metal cup that you put on your finger whenever you sew. Yes, this is a common thing. My grandma basically has used this a few times, basically whenever she sews, but I have used them. I put it on myself, and it's mostly good. Now, mostly you put it on your index finger, basically, whenever you use this thing. That's pretty much what it's used for. I put it on my pinky because it's the only finger I have that actually can fit it. And during the play, Peter Pan answers a phone call in the middle of his daughter's play. Yes, this is the early 90s. This is one of those big cell phones where you get to do this. You get to pull the thing open, and put it to your ear. My dad never had these, but I saw these things frequently in the movies. I personally never knew anybody who actually had these type of phones when I was younger. Yeah. It's not exactly something that basically that people used. People do use this a lot. Of course, nowadays people use cell phone. You use a flip phone or it's a smartphone. Yeah, that's simply what it is. So basically, he says because of his work, he has to miss basically his son's baseball game. So because he's going so well, it's like, okay, I don't want to miss anything in the game. So he sends one of his coworkers to go and videotape the game, and then we see his wife Moria, their daughter basically eating a hot dog with mustard on it, and well, the guy showing up and says, "Hey, I'm here because simply your husband to record the game," and Jack basically lost the game. Yeah, Jack had a thing for baseball. Yes, baseball. And throughout the whole movie, with the exception of like one scene, he's normally seen wearing like a baseball jersey, t-shirt, and jeans, and sneakers. That is how he dresses in the movie. In the case of his daughter, now Peter's son's name is Jack. Interesting. His daughter's name is, I think it's Maggie. Yeah, Maggie. Beautiful little girl. I don't know if the actor's actually doing anything now. Like, I don't think she's acting anymore. No, not really. The guy that played Jack, I think he's still. Actually, no, he's no longer acting. He is. He's basically a teacher now. Hmm. Yep. But here's the thing that I found very interesting, though. Now, we see the actual Winnie in the movie, and she's played by the awesome Maggie Smith. One of like two films outside of the Harry Potter movies that I've seen her in. The other, of course, being The Secret Garden. It's a movie from the late '70s, but I saw it when I was a kid in the '90s VHS. Good movie to watch. Yep. So so they basically go to London to celebrate, well, Wendy's, I think it's her 100th birthday, I think it is. And they go to her house, and basically they kind of confirm in story that this is the same house that Peter Pan actually visited when he was a child. Yeah, when he was flying back and forth between here and between London and Neverland. This is the very house they go to. And apparently Wendy is still there. And when they show a flashback of how Peter and Moore first met, Wendy, of course, is played by, like, the teenage version played Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, the same woman who recently played Pepper Potts in the MCU. Yes, Gwyneth Paltrow. In by far the only film I've actually seen her in where she does not play Pepper Potts. Yeah, because I kind of forgot she was in here. Yep, so. And, well, they go into the whole thing of. And it turns out in story, because they think that the whole Peter Pan story is complete made up, turns out in story is actually true. Well, according to Wendy, she confirms that Peter Panning is in fact Peter Pan. So they basically, Moore and Peter go out with Wendy to basically, I think it was like a banquet in her honor, naming Wing after her. And of course, Jack and Maggie are asleep at the house with Toodles, which obviously about Himalayan movie. And then something really weird happens. Like the door gets broken into, and then like Jack and Wendy get sort of spirited away by something. It's not thoroughly explained. It's like, okay, they're covering up the hiding, and then their sheets get pulled from them, and then they get lifted up, and then they disappear. It's later explained this is basically Captain Hook and his men doing this. How the heck they managed to do this in the film is never explained. Yes, there's also another thing about the film that's not explained, but I'll get to that in a minute. And then basically, during the banquet, Wendy basically has a sense that something is wrong. So they rush back to the house. Apparently something has happened. And then the Bandits notice that their kids are missing. Oh yeah, and they open up a door. And what's that side of the door? Basically a note written by Captain James T. Cook and held by a frickin', it's pinned to the thing by a sword. Not a knife, a sword. Yes, a pirate sword. I don't know if this is the actual, this is probably one of his men's swords. Because I highly doubt Hook would leave one of his own swords, his own personal sword, in London. This would be kind of dumb for him to do. The police are called in, and eventually, like, they find out, and then of course they have more Peter basic simmers because they're not exactly agreeing the whole thing. So that's when, believe it or not, like, Jack is basically in his own, like, he's in Jack and Maggie, and basically just sobbing over his missing children. And that's when Tinkerbell shows up. Yes, Tinkerbell. And he's like, "Who are you?" And of course, Tinkerbell's like, "I'm Tinkerbell. I'm your partner." Yeah. So, yeah, basically, this is a weird thing. Julia Roberts playing a tiny person. Yeah, this is particularly very weird. But this is probably like late 80s, early 90s tech. And this is probably this is probably the most expensive thing about this whole film. Is, excuse me, the effect of making Tinkerbell looks like she's 6 inches. Yep. So, after some flopping around, he gets wrapped in a blanket, and of course, Tinkerbell carries Peter Banning's, let's just say, his unconscious body, and wakes up in Neverland. He basically tears up the blanket that he's in, and here's a clock, and it's definitely a clock, and the clock's like acting very weird. And what is the clock in? I kid you not, it's the crocodile from the story. Yeah, the crocodile, the same one that Peter Pan in story chopped off where Captain Hook's hand basically wins his crocodile. It was his left hand basically to get this awesome hook that you see where in the movie. And Hook gets a lot of screen time in the movie, which is quite something because in the cartoon he didn't appear very much. And you also see in the movie, like when you see him, you actually see him like when he gets this awesome reveal. Like everyone's going Hook, Hook, Hook. Like Peter Pan's on the ship, like he gets on board the ship with Hook's men, and you have Smee basically carry out a Hook, and then you have basically all the crew chanting Hook because they're all big fans of it as a crew. And then you see him basically kind of like a sharp explosion when he puts on the Hook. And he comes out wearing his... Now, I should point out, though, the way they have his suit portrayed here, it's, well, typical 17th century, like, attire. Like, the big buccaneer hat, the fluffy shirt, the red waistcoat. I believe it's, like, black pants, black boots. Yeah, that's how he dresses in the movie, which... It's similar to that of... If you ever see the Disney cartoon, it's a very similar look they had in the cartoon. But here's the thing. There is something interesting, though, about his hair. Yes. Apparently, Hook is wearing a wig. Yes. Apparently, because Hook got older, he apparently lost his hair at some point. Yeah, they revealed this a couple times in the movie, where you see him take off his hair, and they don't really explain how the heck this is. Probably because he got old. It's possible, but they never really explain why his hair is a wig. Yeah. And you occasionally see it without his hat on, despite the fact he's wearing a wig. How his wig is staying on, despite the fact it's usually attached to his hat he wears, is never explained. Yeah. So, basically, you have it where he apparently kidnapped Peter Pan's children, and of course he confronts Hook about this, like how much you want to free my kids? He brings out his freaking checkbook, and Hook just takes out his pistol, shoots right through the checkbook, inadvertently killing one of his own men. Because that's Hook for you. But at least you gotta praise the fact that Dustin Hoffman, I remember watching this movie, he portrays Captain Hook as what I think of when I think of 17th century pirate. He's not exactly very cruel per se, but he at least is like if you see him like his performance, it seems like Hoffman is having a blast playing this character. I mean, I had heard something quite interesting though about Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams. They apparently they refused to take salaries in this movie. Yeah, they did these roles for free. Yes, Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams, two people who at the time, who were probably one of the most highest paid actors in Hollywood, decided to refuse to take a paycheck for this movie. No idea why, but they did. Yeah, it's one of the most strangest things I've heard. I'm sure Julia Roberts and Bob Hoskins got a good paycheck out of it. Yeah. Along with Maggie Smith, who was probably the only actual, like, British actor in this whole movie. Because I think everybody else is, like, it's pretty much like an all-American film. I think, like, the only British actor in this movie is probably Bob Hoskins, and that's probably it. I know the actor since I think he's passed away. Mostly almost everybody else in this movie is still pretty much alive. Yeah, because the movie itself only came out, like, 28 years ago. Yes, 28 years ago this film was released. And eventually, Peter is basically taken, like, knock out the ship. He's with the mermaids for a while. Eventually you see, like, Neverland. And it's similar to how it's portrayed in the original film, except they don't include a scene with the Native Americans. No, they are, like, nowhere to be seen. Also, it's just me or is Hook's crew, like, bigger than usual? Like, oh, I'm not talking about the wayside. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about he seems like he has a crew of Like, because if you see the original cartoon film, this movie is like almost nothing to do with that original cartoon film. It seems as though he has a crew of about 20, 30 people. It looks like his crew looks like it's in the hundreds. And apparently they have their own colony in Neverland. How the heck this was accomplished is never explained. Also, the one thing the story has never explained about Hook is like, okay, how long has he been in Neverland for? Yes, that's a strange thing. Also, apparently with Peter Pan gone, apparently he's been ruling Neverland for years. Well, a small portion of it anyways. Oh yeah, we had Lost Boys movie, and there's actually also more of them in this movie, like with Hook's crew. Now, in the cartoon, there was roughly about 10 boys. Here, it looks like it's about 50 of them. And it's like early 90s like style, like using skateboards. Yeah, if you see like Team and Charles, which came around the same period of time, it's a very similar thing. And the Lost Boys are led by a man named Rufio. Yes. Yeah, a guy who loves showing off his basically his belly button. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe him. And he's kind of like the leader of the group. And everyone's like Rufio because he's like the strongest. He's played by an actor named Dante Basco. I think he's Hispanic. Aside from this movie, he's basically a voice actor. Yeah, that's the thing. He hasn't done many movies per se. He's mostly done like a lot of voiceovers. He even did the live action version of Fist of the North Star. Yeah, he did that. And he was their jarhead, but mostly he's known for doing a lot of voiceovers. That's what the guy is typically known for, a voice actor. That's what he does nowadays. It's probably like for his only major like live action he was in. Yep. So they have it where they have one of them. I think it's the chubby one. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I think his name is Ace. Oh, Thudbutt. That's his name, Thudbutt. Yeah, he gives Peter Banning marbles that used to belong to Toodles. Yeah, it revealed that Toodles is in fact a lost boy. He said he lost his marbles because it means he's probably crazy. Yeah, so basically, at this point, Tinkerbell convinces Rufio to train Peter Pan to become, Peter Pan. He goes all over the place. They paint his body, and they teach him some sword fighting. And eventually goes back to goes to a tree, he falls in, and it kind of looked like a house that apparently him, Wendy, and apparently her brothers were in. Also, they never reveal exactly what happened to Wendy's brothers. Yeah, she has two brothers. One, of course, is a genius. The other, of course, is a little boy. Yeah, they never reveal specifically what happened to them. It's possible they might be dead, but they never reveal exactly what happened to them. No, that's the strange thing about Wendy's brothers. They never knew what happened to them. They just disappeared, which is kind of weird. Yep. And, apparently he gets convinced that he really is Peter Pan. And at one point, basically, Tinkerbell, who's in her cage, eventually gets out. She's like, oh, yeah, you broke your house. And apparently she's drawn to natural size. You see Julia Roberts in a dress. And it looked like that Tinkerbell and Peter Pan probably about to make out, and then he says more. He's like, oh crap, think about his wife. So basically he remembers he is Peter Pan. That's why I think he's married and has two kids. So then eventually he puts on the tights again, which I think these might be the same tights I've seen in the way they look. I've seen the first live action version of Peter Pan, the one where we have a woman playing Peter Pan. It might be based upon that same attire. I'm not really sure. But yeah, also, get this. Now, in the original cartoon, Peter Pan fought Hook with a freaking knife. A dagger. In the film, they give him a sword. My guess is it probably make more sense for the fight with a sword than a freaking knife. Excuse me. Yeah, so Then we have a montage sequence, another one, a little fast one, where you see the Lost Boys preparing for war with Captain Hook and his crew, and they fight them teenage style with like paintball guns and eggs, basically kid style warfare. So they launch a full scale assault on not on Hook's ship per se, basically on Hook's colony that he has, and they blast all right through. Also, you have this wonderful scenes of Jack and Hook basically come sort of bonding with each other, and they even have like a baseball game. Yes, an actual baseball game in the film where you have Jack playing baseball, which is interesting though to seeing pirates playing baseball. I'm sure Bob Hoskins himself must have really enjoyed doing this particular scene because if you see the film, it seems like he's having fun being the umpire, which okay, that makes sense because if you look at Bob Hoskins at this point, he probably can't be much of a baseball player anyway, so him being the umpire makes perfect sense. And at one point, we have a pirate who's cheating, so Hook punishes him by shooting him. Yep. And they also said this one thing about proving how much of a man. The Lost Boys try to prove how Peter Banning is a man by stealing Hook's hook, and well, he decides not to, and they escape anyways. But then, of course, after they launch the first skull on the crew anyways, Rufio is basically kind of been demoted to second command. But Rufio gets a chance to fight Hook himself, which I thought this was awesome. The new character fights Hook. So we have Hook and Peter, and of course they have this wonderful thing like when Peter shows up, you don't see him like his face in it when you see his back, and eventually you hear a cut like huh, and it's a cut, and it's basically like shape a person, and it's Peter Pan. He's like, "Whoa, you put on those smashing tights again." Yes, that is a line that that Dustin Hoffman says in the movie, and basically him and Peter Pan decide to start a brief fight, and then Peter Pan hears his daughter screaming for him, so Rufio's like, "Hey, I'll take on Hook." And they have awesome sword battle, which like go last for a good period of time. And this is probably like a distraction, like give Hook something to do. So they eventually have it where basically Peter frees. He's like, she like fighting up her, and she's like, "Dad," it's like, "Dad." yeah. See her dad, who's a corporate lawyer, basically sword fighting with a bunch of pirates. Which probably her like, what in the world is going on here? That's probably what her expression is. Yeah, and then of course, well, after they defeat the pirate, after he defeats like the three pirates holding her, he gives a hug like, "Okay, I free her. Now I gotta save Jack." Eventually, Jack is convinced that he and Hook is a terrible idea, so he tosses out the coat, but he keeps he basically dressed up as Hook, which I thought was a really nice touch, made him like a Hook Jr. And eventually, Rufio is killed by Hook. And then Hook himself gets into his awesome battle with Peter Pan. Excuse me. And then eventually he, at one point, loses it. And he beats Hook, sort of humiliates him by talking off his wig. He says, "Take your ship and go, and don't come back." Eventually he tries to get up, and he slices at Peter's arm. And also it's revealed that the scar he has on his belly, apparently Hook did that to him too. So eventually he decided to stick his hook inside the crocodile, and then somehow that caused the crocodile to wake up and then fall right on top of Hook, apparently swallowing him somehow. It's never really explained. And Hook gone, Neverland's free. So Peter, Jack, and Maggie go back home. And of course, Jack and Maggie and Benjamin, of course, I think Jack is basically back in the same clothes he was in when he left. So they basically surprise their mom by saying they're back. And Peter ends up in a park. Yes. He ends in Kingston Gardens. Yeah. And he sees Smee there, which apparently he's a janitor. This is probably just Bob Hoskins playing a different character. Mm-hmm. Probably yes. And then he goes home, gets a phone call with his boss, like feel this, and he's always tosses himself out the window, despite the fact he actually the film is tossed out the window early in the movie. He like mentions soon to come, but this is the only film they did for it. I have heard also Spielberg is not. This is probably his. He said he was not really a big fan of this film at all. What the way it turned out. Yeah, but I disagree with him on that. This is a great movie to watch. And despite its PG rating, there is no swearing in this movie. There's some violence, yes, but it's minimal at best. And it's made by, not made by Disney, no, I don't think it is. It's made by TriStone Pictures, which I think, because normally when you think of Peter Pan, you think of Disney. But this has nothing to do with Disney, but this movie is just really, really good. I give this movie roughly a 10 out of 10. It is a fantastic movie. There's some minor little things never explained, but I love this movie. It is purely fantastic. The first time I saw this movie was on VHS. I watched this film a lot when I was a kid because I freaking loved this movie. But eventually, when I got older and because I still have a love for this movie, like I saw the film was on DVD, I was like, I'm buying this because I love this movie. It's one of my favorite childhood movies. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this particular review. My next review is another film with Bob Hoskins, Super Mario Brothers. Yep. Unlike in the case of this film, where it's beloved by everybody, not of course by people who actually went to go see the movie, not loved by critics per se, but the audience loved this movie from what I heard. But a movie that is still for guilty pleasure for a lot of people, but I'll talk about that in my next video, okay? To the next video. Bye.